Hi, everybody. I just wanted to welcome you to a new thing we're going to be doing, and it's an extension of our Shop Talk podcast, and we're going to be calling this Shop Talk After Hours. This is really going to be a format where I can talk to you, the audience, directly, share some experiences I've had while growing our business of Deline Restoration, and then also have some fun conversations with some guests that are maybe not tied to business and more just kind of focused on life. So, thank you for joining for the first episode. And today we're just going to go over a couple of different lessons I've learned while growing and scaling our business, Deline Restoration, and all the other things that we do. So, the first lesson I want to talk about today is, excuse me, is what happens when you get a business plan going. And the lesson that I had when we first started the business plan of Deline Restoration. You spend all this time building a business plan and you're kind of building it in a perfect world and almost in a vacuum, right? You come up with who you're going to serve and where they're going to be located and how you're going to get them and what different services you're going to do. And it's all created perfectly. And then you go out to the real world and you find out none of that was the true case of that business plan, right? And you have to pivot and immediately change the plan. And when I first started this business, that was a little concerning for me as I'm getting into this. I'm like, nothing's going to plan. Are we going to be okay? Is this business going to make it? And what I realized is that that's kind of the process of building a business. Excuse me. And that it's kind of a normal thing to go through, and it's healthy for businesses. So that was one of the first lessons I learned, that within the first month of starting the business, is that you need to be able to put the thought together for a business plan. And that's important because it gives you the vision for your business, but don't be scared to veer off in a different direction. And don't be scared of where that'll take you, because sometimes doing something that you thought you would never do will take you to a beautiful place and open up your horizons to a much bigger opportunity. And that's what we learned within the first, honestly, probably the 30 days of starting this business. So that's lesson one. It was also literally the first lesson I learned. So glad that we've went through that and now pivoted since then. Excuse me. Lesson number two is cash flow management. That's big in this industry of property restoration. And it was something that when I first started out, I also didn't foresee being an issue. When you're got young, hyper entrepreneurial energy, you're not thinking of all the problems that you're going to have. You're only thinking of the how you're going to do when you're super successful, right? And then you get hit with your first real problem. It's like, okay, we have jobs coming in, but we don't have money to fuel them because we have cash flow issues, right? We've done a bunch of work, and now that work is either stuck in what we call WIP, where it's stuck in a project that you haven't fully completed yet, or it's out in receivables where, you just haven't physically gotten paid for the job yet, but you did all the work. Now, it sounds like a good problem to have, and it is technically, because you means you're doing projects, but it's nonetheless a problem. And you can create some really tight months there if you don't know how to manage it appropriately. So I think for any business, it's important to learn how to manage your cash flow, and every industry is going to be different. Some you might have inherently better scenarios where you're getting paid upon completion for projects and things like that. Us in the property restoration world, we're inherently a little challenged in this because we work with insurance carriers and our payment times can be extended. It can be 30, 40, sometimes 90 days. We try and stay away from those, but it's just the nature of our industry. And so learning how to manage it. It's a problem to manage, not a solution to solve right away. And I don't think in this industry you'll ever get it down to payment as soon as you leave the project, right? But you need to learn how to manage it. Some things that are useful for contractors specifically that you can do to manage cash flow would be you can work with partners to have financing on your receivables so you can get paid quicker and then wait for that money to come in from the customer. I would say when you're small too, is discipline about following up with your customers and, in our case, insurance contractors. I try not to go more than 48 hours without following up on a claim with an insurance company. And it sounds simple, but it's hard to do when you get lost in the busyness of running a business. But just having those extra touches with an insurance company or whoever your customer is will help keep them, hey, this guy wants to get paid, right? The squeaky wheel gets the grease, and that can go a long way. So implementing something like that, and then just being cognizant of the issue, right? Instead of operating with ignorance is bliss mentality, know that this could be an issue for you and then do something about it, right? Just operate with some knowledge and then, maybe try not to overextend in the months where cash will be tight. Try and pull back a little bit and manage it. Like I said, it's a problem to be managed maybe not an issue to be solved specifically in our industry. So that's lesson number 2, and a very important lesson. Lesson number 3, I learned this from my dad, actually, who was our first guest on Shop Talk. And he told me one day when I came home and I was burnt out, like my brain wasn't working. I was, the business wasn't doing great in the early days and I was really struggling. I was beating myself up over it and just working nonstop hours, but not really getting a lot done because I was just so, burnt out and just strapped for energy. And he pulled me aside and he's like, listen, you got to understand that the game that you got into of entrepreneurialism and being a business owner is a marathon. It's not a sprint. And that hit home for me. I remember that specific moment. We're sitting on the couch talking about this. And I'm like, you know what, you're right. Because right now I'm treating it as an all out sprint. And I can tell that I can't sprint for that long. And that was helpful. Now, you still have to attack problems with a lot of energy and vigor to solve them. So you don't take away the intensity, but you understand that you can't run at 100% intensity all the time. And you need to learn the situations that are going to require that, right? There may be days where you need to burn the candle at both ends, but there's also days where you don't, and you should save up your energy to go tackle other problems at, a less intense until you need to really hammer away on a certain issue. And I try and carry that mentality into the business nowadays because I know that if I burn out, I'm not going to come at our team with the proper energy that they deserve and need. And then same for our customers. So toning it back a little bit, taking a breath, and making sure that we're here for the long run, right? We're not here to do this for a year. We're here to do it for life. So that's an important mindset to have going into business. And then lesson number 4, I want to talk about something specific to our business of property restoration and our industry. Excuse me. Picked a good day to record. I got a little cold on the tail end of here. But lesson number 4 is about TPAs. Those are third-party administrators, and that's something that goes on in the property restoration industry that is pretty unique to us, I believe. And those companies basically manage claims for insurance carriers. And basically, an insurance carrier will have a claim come in, and it goes to this third party. That third party then sends it to contractors that have signed up with that program. And as a contractor, it sounds amazing on the surface. You're like, okay, I sign up, I give you my tax information, I show you I have insurance, and I show you that I got good Google reviews, and all of a sudden, I'm going to get work with no lead cost. Because something most people don't know about our industry is the cost of customer acquisition can be extremely high. There are services that charge per phone call that'll charge upward of $1,000 for a single phone call. And even if you miss that phone call, $1,000 is going to come right out of your bank account. So it's a very competitive industry. So when somebody comes to you and says, I'm going to give you free projects, no cost, you just have to do the work and sign up for our program, it's like, wow, that's amazing. But I think there's a dark side to them, and that's why we as a company choose not to work on them. And that really is that when you sign up with them, it's not all sunshine and rainbows. When you sign up with them, you have to work by their certain regulations. They'll have people who tell you actually how to run the project, even though we're the trained professional and we know our industry guidelines and how we need to take care of the customer. And those values inherently are kind of misaligned because that third party works for the insurance carrier who, I don't think are ill intent, but they want to save their pocketbook and not overextend themselves. So I think there's some misalignment on values there. And then the other thing is you sign up to work on a specific price list. So no longer are you able to tell your customer how much are you going to charge, or you don't even really know how much you're going to charge until the project's over. And for me, as a business owner who wants to operate with some intelligence going into projects, it's just not a situation we want to be part of. We want to know if we're going to be profitable on a project and how much we need to charge to be profitable on a project. And then I also want the ability to talk to my customer at any point when they call me up and say, hey, how much is this going to cost me? I, as an owner, and us as an organization need to be able to tell our customer that. And so those are some of the reasons why we choose not to work with them. I think maybe if you're first starting out and you really need to get your feet wet in the industry, and it's a good way to get leads without having to pay tremendous amounts, maybe. But I think that the values are a little misaligned. There's some companies out there that are TPAs that are recognizing that and are making some good changes. And I look forward to see what our industry can do to work towards a better solution where everybody's aligned. But for now, that's something that we don't do. And I would caution anybody in the property restoration space to just do your homework and make sure you're comfortable with the things that you're signing up for, and try not to get shiny object syndrome. It's hard, especially when you have employees that you need to pay each week and operational expenses that you need to meet. But if it comes at the cost of you not feeling like you're in control of your own destiny, or even really having insight into how you're operating, it's not always the best case. And just be, cautious with it. So those are the lessons I have for you, and I hope that you guys found some value out of them. The goal is going to be that we come back at you guys often with different lessons I've learned, maybe funny stories. We see a lot of crazy stuff in this business, so we'll tell you about some of the stuff we see, and then hopefully get some interviews going. This is more of a self-produced episode, so our normal podcast shop talk is a lot higher production quality, and we have a producer, Joe, that helps us with those. This is, a camera and a simple microphone, as you can see here, but we want to be able to provide you with maybe a different perspective. And hopefully, if you're an entrepreneur starting your business, I can share some things. And that's also not to say that I know all the answers, but it's always good to teach lessons as you learn, because I like to pay it back from the things that I've learned. So anyways, hope you got some good value out of this, and we'll catch you on the next episode.